revealed something unsettling. Millions of people weren't waking up between 3 and 5 a.m. by accident. They were being called to attention. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever looked at the clock in the dark? 3:17 a.m., 4:02 a.m., same time, different night. And you don't wake up tired, you wake up alert. That's not an accident. In 2026, people don't lose sleep because they're lazy. They lose sleep because their mind is louder than their pillow. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You're not waking up because something is wrong with your sleep. You're waking up because something is wrong with your life rhythm. Your body follows rules. Your mind follows patterns. And patterns always reveal priorities. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., your body is at its most vulnerable state. Your defenses are down. Your distractions are gone. And whatever you've been avoiding finally gets a microphone. That's when stress speaks. That's when fear whispers. That's when unmade decisions knock. You see, your brain doesn't shut off just because you lay down. If you spend all day reacting, consuming, scrolling, worrying, your mind schedules the meeting for the early morning, and it never asks for permission. In 2026, cortisol, the stress hormone, is the new alarm clock. Not your phone, not your watch, your pressure. Your nervous system doesn't care about your excuses. It responds to inputs, screens late at night, blue light, endless notifications, instant gratification. You trained your brain to stay alert now. It's just obeying you. Here's the part that changes everything. That early morning awakening is not your enemy. It's your feedback system. It's your body saying something needs attention. Maybe it's a goal you keep postponing. Maybe it's a conversation you keep avoiding. Maybe it's a life you know you're capable of but haven't committed to. Your environment matters more than your intention. If your room is bright, noisy, chaotic, your sleep will be too. If your days are reactive, your nights will be restless. And here's the real shift. Stop asking, how do I sleep better? Start asking, how do I live better during the day? Because when your days are intentional, your nights become peaceful. When your decisions are aligned, your mind doesn't need to wake you up. So the next T, you wake up at 3:42 a.m. Don't panic. Don't grab your phone. Don't call it insomnia. Listen, because your body isn't trying to punish you. It's trying to prepare you. And once you fix the cause, sleep becomes automatic. Rest isn't found in the bed. It's earned in how you live. Your mind wakes up before your body is ready. And that single sentence explains more about your sleep than most PO. Plea will learn in a lifetime. Sleep is not just a physical shutdown. It is a negotiation between your body's need for rest and your mind's need for resolution. When you wake up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., it is rarely because your body is finished resting. Muscles are still repairing, hormones are still regulating, and your nervous system is still supposed to be in recovery mode. Yet your mind interrupts the process. Why? Because the mind does not operate on fatigue. It operates on pressure. Throughout the day, your mind collects unfinished business, unspoken thoughts, delayed decisions, ignored responsibilities, emotional conflicts, financial concerns, and future uncertainties don't disappear when you lie down. They get postponed. And postponed thoughts don't die, they wait. When distractions fade, when noise drops, and when the world finally goes quiet, your mind finds the only open window it has left, the early morning hours. Your brain is designed to protect you. It scans for threats, evaluates risks, and prepares you for survival. In modern life, the threats are no longer predators or hunger. They are deadlines, expectations, performance pressure, and the fear of falling behind. When your days are filled with reaction instead of intention, your mind never feels complete. So it schedules its wake-up call before sunrise, when your defenses are lowest and your attention is undivided. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the body is still in deep repair, but cortisol, the stress hormone, begins to rise slightly to prepare you for waking. If your life is overloaded, that rise becomes a spike. Your mind senses the opening and takes control. Suddenly you are awake, alert, and thinking clearly, even though your body is exhausted. That clarity is deceptive. It feels productive, but it's actually your nervous system in a state of early activation, not readiness. This is why you don't wake up groggy. You wake up mentally busy. Thoughts come fast, scenarios replay, conversations rehearse themselves. Plans, regrets, and worries line up as if your mind has been waiting hours for this moment. It has. Because during the day you trained it to wait. You trained it by multitasking, by consuming constant information, by postponing rest, and by telling yourself you deal with it later. Your body believes in cycles. Your mind believes in completion. When completion never happens during the day, the mind borrows time from the night. That's not insomnia, it's overflow. The system is backed up and the overflow valve opens when silence finally arrives. This is why sleeping pills don't solve the problem long term. You can sedate the body, but you cannot trick the mind into peace. PCE comes from alignment. When your actions match your priorities, when decisions are made instead of delayed, when your day has structure instead of chaos, your mind receives a signal that it is safe to shut down. Waking up early is not a flaw, it's feedback. Your mind is telling you that it is working harder than your body can support. Until you change how you live while awake, your mind W. It'll keep waking you up to remind you. Your nervous system is overstimulated, and in 2026, this has become one of the most common but least understood reasons people can't stay asleep. The human nervous system was never designed to process constant stimulation, yet modern life delivers non-stop signals from the moment we wake up until the moment we fall asleep. Notifications, artificial lighting, idle conversations, deadlines, noise, and emotional pressure. Keep your system in a state of alert far longer than it was meant to handle. Over time, the body adapts not by calming down, but by staying switched on. Your nervous system has two primary modes: activation and recovery. Activation is necessary for focus, decision-making, and performance. Recovery is necessary for healing, regulation, ND sleep. The problem is that many people rarely enter true recovery mode anymore. Even when the body lies down, the nervous system remains active. The heart rate may slow slightly, but the brain continues scanning. Muscles may relax, but the system does not feel safe enough to fully shut down. Overstimulation teaches the nervous system that silence is unusual and calm is suspicious. When your why is filled with constant input, the absence of stimulation at night can actually trigger alertness instead of rest. The brain interprets sudden quiet as a potential threat. That's why some people fall asleep easily with noise or a screen on, but wake up abruptly in the early morning hours once stimulation drops. The system doesn't know how to stay calm without input, so it creates its own blue L. Eye exposure late at night plays a powerful role in this cycle. Screens suppress melatonin, the hormone responsible for signaling rest, but more importantly, they excite the nervous system. Fast scrolling, emotional content, and rapid information shifts keep the brain in a reactive state. You may feel tired, but your nervous system feels wired. This mismatch creates shallow sleep that breaks easy. Especially during the lightest sleep phase between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. Emotional overstimulation compounds the issue. Unresolved tension, suppressed frustration, and constant comparison keep the nervous system on guard. Even positive stress, ambition, excitement, and goal chasing can keep the system activated if it never gets resolved. The body doesn't distinguish between good stress and bad stress. It only measures intensity and duration. When intensity stays high for too long, the nervous system assumes danger and stays alert. Over time, this constant alert state becomes the new normal. The nervous system recalibrates upward. What once felt stressful now feels ordinary, but that doesn't mean it's healthy. It means your baseline has shifted. Sleep becomes lighter, dreams become fragmented, and early waking becomes frequent. Not because your body is rested, but because your system doesn't trust rest anymore. True rest requires safety, and safety is not a thought, it's a signal. Your nervous system responds to rhythm, consistency, and boundaries. When your days are unpredictable, overstimulated, and reactive, your nights mirror that chaos. The system never receives the message that it is allowed to stand down. Waking early is not weakness. It is a nervous system that has forgotten how to relax until stimulation is reduced, boundaries are restored, and recovery is prioritized. The system will continue to interrupt sleep, not to harm you, but to protect you from a world it believes never turns off. Your cortisol rhythm is out of alignment, and this imbalance quietly controls way. You wake up more than your alarm clock ever could. Cortisol is often misunderstood as a bad hormone, but in reality, it is essential for survival. It helps you wake up, focus, respond to challenges, and generate energy. The problem is not cortisol itself. The problem is timing. When cortisol rises at the wrong time, it disrupts the natural architecture of sleep and pulls you into wakefulness before your body has completed its recovery. In a healthy rhythm, cortisol is lowest late at night and begins to rise gently just before morning, preparing you to wake up feeling refreshed. This rise should happen closer to your natural waking time, not in the middle of the night. But chronic stress, irregular routines, emotional pressure, and constant stimulation retrain your hormonal system. Instead of a smooth curve, cortisol begins to spike early. When that spike happens between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., your brain receives a signal that it's time to be alert, even though your body desperately needs rest. This misalignment doesn't happen overnight. It is built slowly through lifestyle patterns, skipping rest during the day, pushing through exhaustion, consuming stimulants late, sleeping at inconsistent times, and living in a constant state of urgency, all teach the body that stress is the default LT state. Over time, the adrenal system adapts by releasing cortisol earlier and more aggressively, as if it's preparing you for another demanding day before the previous one has even ended. When cortisol rises too early, it short-circuits deep sleep. Deep sleep is where physical repair happens, memory consolidates, and the nervous system recalibrates. A premature cortisol surge pulls you out of that state. You don't wake up slowly, you snap awake. Your heart rate increases slightly, your thoughts sharpen, and your mind starts scanning for problems. This is not restful waking, it's survival waking. This is why early waking often comes with anxiety, overthinking, or a sense of urgency. Cortisol doesn't wake you gently, it mobilizes you, it prepares you to act if there is unresolved stress. In your life, your brain interprets that hormone surge as a call to address it immediately. The stillness of early morning amplifies the effect. With no distractions, your awareness locks onto whatever feels unfinished or uncertain. Irregular sleep schedules worsen the problem. Going to bed at different times each night confuses the body's internal clock. The hormonal system thrives on predictability. When routines are inconsistent, cortisol loses its rhythm and begins firing based on stress rather than time. The body stops trusting the clock and starts responding to pressure instead. Even mental habits play a role. Worrying late at night, planning excessively in bed, or mentally rehearsing the next day trains the brain to associate nighttime with problem solving. Cortisol responds to thought just as much as to action. If your mind stays active, your hormones follow. Early waking is not your body betraying you. It is your body adapting to the signals you've been sending. Cortisol is doing its job too well, too early, because it believes you are under constant demand. Until stress is reduced, rhythms are stabilized, and recovery is respected, cortisol will continue to rise ahead of schedule. And as long as that happens, your body will wake up before it's truly ready. Not because it wants to, but because it thinks it has to. Your environment is training your brain to wake up even when you believe you are doing everything right. The brain is a pattern recognition machine, and it learns faster from repetition than from intention. Every sound, every light source, every habit, and every routine sends signals to your nervous system about what to expect and how to respond. Over time, those signals shape your sleep far more than your willpower ever could. Your brain does not experience your bedroom as a place of rest by default. It assigns meaning based on usage. If your room is where you scroll, worry, work, watch intense content, or check the time repeatedly, your brain begins to associate that space with alertness. Even subtle cues matter. The glow of a charging phone, street lights leaking through curtains, or a familiar early morning noise can become triggers. Once the brain learns those cues, it anticipates waking before they even occur. Light is one of the most powerful trainers of the brain. Artificial light after sunset delays melatonin and confuses your internal clock. But early morning light is even more influential. If light enters your room around the same time each morning, your brain learns that this is the moment to wake. It doesn't matter whether you need more sleep. The signal has been learned. Over time, the brain begins waking you slightly before the light appears, because prediction is more efficient than reaction. Sound works the same. A distant car, a neighbor's movement, a heating system cycling on, or even silence after constant noise can become a conditioned signal. The brain remembers patterns. If you've woken up repeatedly at a similar time due to an environmental cue, the brain eventually stops waiting for the cue and initiates waking on its own. This is not a malfunction, it's training. Temperature also plays a role. The body naturally cools during sleep and warms as morning approaches. If your environment warms too early or fluctuates unpredictably, it can signal the brain that sleep is over. Even small changes, repeated consistently, reinforce the waking pattern. The brain values predictability above comfort, so it adjusts to the pattern rather than resisting it. Habits reinforce the environment's influence. Checking the clock when you wake up teaches your brain to care about the time. Lying awake and thinking in bed teaches the brain that the bed is a place for mental activity. Getting up immediately after early waking teaches the system that this time is functional, not disruptive. Each response strengthens the loop. Your environment doesn't need to be chaotic to be stimulating, even a clean cue. Your room can train wakefulness if it lacks clear boundaries between activity and rest. The brain needs contrast. When daytime and nighttime environments feel too similar, the brain stays partially alert, unsure of when it is truly safe to shut down. Waking early is often the result of successful conditioning. Your brain has learned your patterns well. It is responding exactly as it has been trained to respond. Changing this pattern requires changing the signals, not forcing sleep. When the environment consistently communicates safety, darkness, quiet, and stillness at the right times, the brain slowly relearns how to stay asleep. Until then, it will continue to wake you, not because something is wrong, but because it believes it is doing exactly what it was taught to do. Your subconscious is demanding attention, and the early morning hours are when it finally gets the floor. During the day, consciousness dominates. You make decisions, perform tasks, respond to people, and manage appearances. Logic stays in charge, and emotion stays in the background. But the subconscious does not disappear just because it is quiet. It records everything, every unspoken feeling, every unresolved conflict, every desire you postpone, and every fear you avoid. It waits patiently until the noise fades. Between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., the world is silent and the conscious mind loosens its grip. Defenses are down, distractions are gone. That is when the subconc, IUU, steps forward. This is not mystical or accidental, it is psychological timing. The subconscious communicates through emotion, imagery, and repetition, not through polite reminders. When it needs attention, it creates pressure. Waking you up is one of the few ways it can guarantee you will listen. The thoughts that appear at this hour are rarely random. They circle the same themes, unresolved. Decisions, relationship tension, financial pressure, missed opportunities, or a sense that something important is being ignored. These thoughts are not new. They are simply no longer being suppressed. During the day, productivity masks discomfort. At night, productivity is unavailable, so truth rises instead. Your subconscious cares less about comfort and more about alignment. It wants your action to match your values and your direction to match your potential. When there is a gap between who you are living as and who you believe you could be, The subconscious creates tension. That tension doesn't vanish when you sleep. It accumulates. Early waking is often the release valve. This is why these awakenings feel emotionally charged. You may feel anxious, reflective, motivated, or unsettled without knowing why. The subconscious does not explain itself. It signals. And the signal intensifies when ignored. If you repeatedly dismiss these thoughts, your mind will bring them back night after night, slightly louder each time. Many people misinterpret this experience as anxiety or insomnia, when in reality it is internal communication. The subconscious is asking for resolution, honesty, or it may be pushing you toward a decision you've been avoiding or away from a situation that no longer fits. It may be highlighting a fear that needs acknowledgement or a desire that needs permission. Sleep becomes easier once the message is received, not necessarily solved, but acknowledged. When you listen during the day, the subconscious doesn't need to wake you at night. When you reflect, decide, and act with intention, the internal pressure decreases. The mind feels complete, and completion allows rest. Early waking is not a malfunction of the brain. It is a conversation you haven't finished. And until that conversation happens in the light of day, your subconscious will keep choosing the quietest hour of the night to speak. Your waking time is a signal, not a problem. And once why, understand this: the frustration around early waking begins to change. Most people treat waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. as an enemy to fight. They label it insomnia, anxiety, or bad luck. They search for techniques to force sleep back into place, believing something has gone wrong. But the body is not malfunctioning. It is communicating. And like any signal, it carries information before it is inconvenience. The human body does not interrupt itself randomly. Every system in you is designed around efficiency, protection, and adaptation. When you wake at the same time repeatedly, your body is not rebelling, it is responding. That repetition is the key. Signals repeat until they are understood. Ignoring them does not make them disappear. It makes them louder and more frequent. Early W. Aching often appears during periods of internal or external transition. Changes in responsibility, direction, identity, or pressure create internal recalibration. Your system adjusts before your conscious mind fully catches up. Waking early is one way the body processes that adjustment. It creates space for awareness when the world is quiet enough to notice it. This is why trying to suppress the wake-up rarely works. Forcing yourself back to sleep without addressing the underlying message can temporarily knock you out. But it doesn't resolve the signal. The body keeps sending it because the conditions that triggered it remain unchanged. The solution is not control, it is interpretation. Signals always point back to behavior. How you spend your day determines how your night responds. Overextended days produce restless nights. Unresolved stress creates premature alertness. Inconsistent routines confuse internal timing. Emotional avoidance creates mental noise. The body translates all of this into a single message: wake up. Once you see waking as feedback, you stop asking the wrong questions. Instead of asking, how do I stop this? You ask, what is my body responding to? That shift changes everything. It turns frustration into insight and struggle into information. Your waking time is also an opportunity. In the stillness of early morning, your mind is clear, honest, and unfiltered. This is when insight appears easily. Many breakthroughs happen in these quiet hours, not because the person wanted to wake up, but because their system created the space for clarity. The signal is not asking you to suffer, it is asking you to notice. When the signal is respected, it often softens. As habits improve, stress decreases, boundaries strengthen, and alignment returns, the body no longer needs to interrupt sleep. The wake-up fades naturally without force. The system recalibrates itself once it feels heard. You don't fix a signal by silencing it. You fix it by respo, any appropriately. Early waking is not the problem. It is the messenger. And when the message is understood, the messenger is no longer needed. Waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is not your body betraying you. It's your body briefing you. It's showing you the cost of overstimulation, misalignment, unresolved pressure, and unspoken truth. In 2026, sleep is no longer just about rest. It's about rhythm, intention, and how honestly you are living while awake. When your days are chaotic, your nights become restless. When your mind carries unfinished business, your body refuses to fully shut down. And when your life lacks alignment, sleep becomes the first place that truth shows up. But the moment you stop fighting the wake up and start listening to it, everything changes. Because the body does not speak in words, it speaks in patterns. And patterns are invitations to adjust, not punishments to endure. Fix the rhythm of your days and your nights will follow. Lower the noise, resolve what you've been postponing, respect recovery, and your body will remember how to rest. Sleep doesn't need to be forced when life is lived with intention. So the next time you wake up in the quiet hours of the morning, don't label it a problem. Recognize it as feedback, because once the message is understood, the signal fades and rest returns naturally.